where I came from and where I'm going.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Hey Shooter podcast, where we talk about your journey to the sun. I'm your host, Sanate, and this episode is a part 2 of The Boarding House. So part 1 was episode 3, episode 4, part 2. And I'm still joined by Tebello, Lintle, and Tshedi. Still talking about systemic racism, but now focusing on the ways in which we feel it can be uprooted in today's world. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. This is The Boarding House, part 2.
I feel like what you're saying, it's great, but the willingness to learn has to be there. If we're talking to people that aren't even there, you can, I don't know, shout until your face goes blue, but
wow,
they're not going to want to come to the table and talk to you.
Mm.
And I think to myself, even so many issues that affect us, it's always Black people coming with kindness, or we approach it in a very civil manner. I'm still trying to teach you to understand.
And it's
how
exhausting.
Your privilege. It shouldn't be that way. Even if you think about, say, South Africa and the land debate, it shouldn't even be a debate. Like, if we all historically know what happened and what it takes to get there, why all of a sudden is it a discussion now? Like, when you took the land, was it a discussion? No. When you were pressing me, was it a discussion? No. And in as much as I understand we are too far along in future or progressed in society for us to go back to war or bloodshedding just to drastically correct what was wrong then. At the end of the day, it's like, what is it going to take in order for me to live this life with dignity?
Yes.
Because if I keep waiting for freaking, like, I don't know who's the next person, I'm not going to wait for Gen Z. Freaking, probably the Gen Z of freaking Martin Luther King and Malcolm X's times, they thought we were the ones that are just literally going to turn this entire shit upside down. Like, if they were still calm, still talking, we're still calm, still talking, our kids after us are still going to become talking. Like, at what point do we say, you know what, I'm tired of talking? Like, I am tired of talking. Now I'm just going to come out guns blazing. Like, what is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's exhausting. Yeah. It's exhausting to be an angry Black woman. It is the most exhausting thing on the planet, yo. And I feel like there's also different ways that people can be humans. Like, for instance, say food. From being intrigued, or okay, what do you guys eat? You know, that's like a gateway into someone else's culture and wanting to learn about it. You know, like at work, we have this cafeteria, and they usually, before Corona, obviously, they'd usually send like a menu to be like, okay, this is what we're serving today, whether it's like rice and chicken, Malaysian chicken, or, you know, what fried ing. So every now and then they will have a menu ailing more African based, you know, they'll have like cow heels or even tripe, you know. This one girl, this one day,
I already don't like her.
This one day,
I already don't like her.
This white girl I follow on Instagram, she takes a picture, because we all get the email. She takes a picture and she posts it on her Insta story to be like, ha ha ha, ew, cow heels. And I was so touched. Like, I had my lunch that day. I wasn't gonna go order, but I was so touched that, you know what, you find it funny that someone is eating cow heel, like someone is willing to go and buy that, because I mean, supply demand type of vibes. You find it so funny that this meal is being served, and did you ever take a minute of your day to be like, okay, you know what, why do Black people enjoy tripe and cow heels and all of that, you know? It could have been either because of oppression, because we weren't exposed to more things, or we genuinely just like eating malamuhodu, you know?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And situation, because I always think to myself, you know, it's going to take a lot for me to look at someone's food and be like, that is disgusting. I think food is one of the ways that really just ties the world together. And I can't see myself going to any country and be like, I mean, I may may try something and I might not like it. You know, it's what they eat, and there's a reason why those people eat those
they eat.
And to just be so closed off in your own world, you think the only thing that people eat in the world is mac and cheese or whatever the heck they eat. It's just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous thing.
Crazy.
When it's quite dumb, and it's like you're really closing yourself off from the world just because when now you think that your way is the only way. And
Yeah. And I don't mean to be spicy, but I don't think there's ever been like a pandemic over us eating, over, you know, black people eating tripe or eating, you know, chicken feet. But people, you know, eat exotic shit.
You see where you're going.
No, but wait.
You know?
I'm sorry to do this, but Ebola. It's like an African. It's not I don't know. It wasn't a pandemic. I think it was an. What's the other one that's not a
epidemic? Maybe.
Epidemic.
Yeah.
I think it was an epidemic. But it was. But also, that's also now a whole other ball game of poverty and.
Oh yes.
Where your only survival is eating wild animals.
Yes. Yeah. I just don't like it when it becomes like, oh, the whole exotic thing, and now people are like, oh my gosh, for me to be a foodie and like somebody that travels around the world, I'm gonna try this and this and this, but you're busy throwing shade at Nomzamo who's eating tribe. Like, I don't like that, you know?
It's the tiniest of things. I remember watching this other podcast. Long story short, they were talking about how it was British nationals who are originally from, let's say they're first generation British, so maybe their parents are from Ghana, they're from Nigeria, or whatever the case may be. Long story short, when their friends would come over and visit them, maybe let's say for lunch that day, I think it's ugusi soup or like traditional Nigerian food.
Yeah, that. Is it the Receipts podcast?
Yes.
You put me onto that actually because like, and I was like, okay, let me check this out.
Yeah. Where like they were talking about, say, when your white friend comes over, all of a sudden it's like, should we have sandwiches and, you know, mac and cheese and, you know, things that the white person can eat or you know, they're used to, like, you know, because for them they might be like, okay, what is this? But they should be comfortable enough to say, her parents give us so too. It's just different nationality. Therefore, when I came on that day,
that's what we're having.
Then that's what's for lunch. It shouldn't be a matter of, okay, we are going to have spaghetti or we're going to have, I don't know, sandwiches. And even things such as when you're at work, all of a sudden, it's like, just very fragrant. It's in the kitchen, your white colleagues will be like, oh, what do you have for lunch today? It's very fragrant. Like, my coordination, I was like, I know, like, you want to say my food is disgusting or whatnot, and you think to yourself, certain cultures, they don't look down on the food, because I feel like half the time, white people don't even know sushi was peasant food in Japan. It was literally, we don't have, we can't get access to the good food, so whatever's left of the fish, just mix it with seaweed and rice and soy, which is something so basic. And that is what we eat. But now all of a sudden it goes to America, it's like, it's sushi, having wine, and you know, it's like fresh from the fishery, and they don't realize all those little nuances. And even I remember the viral video of the Chinese guy that was ridiculing this other, I think BBC chef lady that was
making
cooking rice.
Yes.
She cooked it in a pot and then she put it in a sieve, and then the entire process of cooking rice, he felt offended as an Asian, as if this is not how you would cook rice as an Asian. And the bigger conversation around that is white people or the Western world taking cultural food or traditional food from other cultures and making it their own twist. All of a sudden, a white person will retire, okay, hummus with, I don't know, beetroot, and a Middle Easterner will be like, why the fuck? treat fucking homeworks. Like,
Hey.
it was never meant to be like that. Don't try and make it your own. And all of a sudden, and they don't understand why you all of a sudden you're mad. I'm mad because that's my food, my culture, and you are appropriating it.
Yes.
You're not even acknowledging where it's coming from. You're not even paying homage to it to say, you know what, this is the history behind this meal or this food or this ingredient. But for me, it's like, oh no, I'm on tasty, I'm on the feed, and therefore this is what I'm gonna make today. And it's like, why do you think it's okay to do that? Or like, why?
This video killed me though. That guy was not.
He was like, no.
She's washing her eyes.
Why are you watching my? Oh no, baby, what is you doing?
It was
my
not
gosh.
okay at all.
It's crazy, yeah.
Sorry, just to backtrack just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that in terms of the situation in South Africa, it's going to take up a lot of empathy from white people. And I say that because I remember watching some documentary, and it was a white guy who, I guess, generational farm kind of vibes. And obviously now the idea was now that they were handing the farm over to somebody who's South African, or South African. And he was basically teaching this guy about the land and, about their tactics and the technologies that they're using. Like, how do we as Black people learn to take over the land and mass produce so that we can sustain the land, and just circular, we're supplying and we are, whatever. So it's like, because we don't have that historical education and knowledge of how to do that, I just really love that documentary where it was a white man that was basically teaching these Black guys, like Black men that you can see they barely even know English. You know what I mean? And also at the end of the day, you don't even need to freaking know English to be able to sustain $1 million rand, dollar, whatever farm that supplies to the grand scheme of things, and so on and so forth. So, but that empathy from white people to just understand and realize the benefits that they've received from colonization, and now realizing, okay, now we understand that Black people are actual people and they have emotions and they actually feel pain. So let's share in this thing that was actually theirs and teach them this knowledge that we now have because we've been here and we've used our innovative skills or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's just that empathy from freaking, and you know what? I've seen it. I feel like I've witnessed it. Like, for example, when I was still living in Portland, and the Black Lives Matter things were like, this is now back in like 2017 around. And like, I went to one of the Black Lives Matter marches, and it was all white people. And in my head, I'm like, okay, are the Black people not here because they actually have to be at work because they don't have a fucking choice? You know what I mean? Like, they don't have the luxury. White people have the luxury to be there for Black people and teach Black people and to just recognize the fact that we actually, in the grand scheme of things, we've been taken advantage of, and so we are here to help you and also apologize. Like, we're sorry for like what our ancestors have done to you, but now we want to change that way of thinking and that way of doing things so that we're all winning.
Yeah.
They were also not saying white people, fuck you, clean our shoes and do whatever. Well, at least, I mean, from my end, like, that's not going to give me any satisfaction, but it's more of the idea of like shared value in terms of business, in terms of resources, and in terms of just life in general. So
yeah. And I mean, honestly, I honestly do believe that there's a reason why things happen. There's a reason why there's people that come from different backgrounds, different races, and like Tebello is saying now that, okay, white people, they are really good with like business ideas, and Black people, we're really good with using the little we have to make it go a long way. So now conversations like these, are so vital, because now we're saying, you know what, for us to work together, you need to take a moment out to listen to what I have to say. This and that is not, 1, 2, 3 is not working for me. So for me to be performing at my utmost best level, whatever, I'm going to need you to change 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I feel like also white people realized ages ago that they need black people. We built America, we built Africa, like we work so hard. But my point is just that I feel like we all know that we are all so powerful in our own, lanes. And what we need to do is talk about these things, to be like, yo, I was not happy that I had to wake up at 6 a.m. and shower everything in 15 minutes and be by the breakfast table at 6:15 and still be excelling at, with my work and 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, blah, blah. So we need to have more of these conversations so that people realize, what, for me to be performing at my utmost best, you need to understand where I'm coming from. You need to work with, what I'm most comfortable. Yeah, like it's...
Yeah.
I suppose everything is really just a matter of having conversation. The more people are doing that, by conversations, it doesn't even necessarily have to be, verbal communication, just protesting. That's communication, communicating that we're unhappy with a certain thing, we want changes, and boycotting, that's another form of communication. Like right now, the NBA is like, we ain't gonna do it. We are not gonna play no damn games until you guys stop killing us. And so, yeah, I think at the end of the day, it just takes people standing up. Making things as they come, which has been the norm for centuries. I think we are getting more aware of that just by virtue of having a phone. You know that it's actually kind of your duty to say something and to mobilize, yourself or your group of friends, even if it's just like now in Zim, with the situation that's going on in Zim. I know people were protesting, but it didn't even, a lot of the stories I read weren't even like mass protests. Like people were doing it in groups of 5, walking down the street and protesting, the brutality that's taking place. So if you can have a phone and you know that you have the ability to come together with someone else and just do something, say something, it's a domino effect. It's multiplies, and it just sort of adds into this bigger movement that is really what we're looking for and what we can hope for.
Yeah,
I'm really hopeful in Gen Z though, guys. I love Gen Z.
They don't give a
I love
They
them.
don't care. They're fearless. They're very fearless.
They're so smart, and like I'm learning from them. For example, I have
And in the same way that you say you're learning from them, I always think of my sister who says she learned so much from me and my people and my age mates personally, just from little things like standing up for yourself. And here we are looking at them also feeling the same way. So I think though it's getting smaller and smaller, or closer to the center with each generation that is being born and doing certain things. So yeah, I mean, who knows what's gonna happen in the next 30 years?
I was having a debate with a friend about this, where the question was whether we're even doing enough right now, even though we feel like we are. Where my stance was, if I need to go to a protest or a demonstration or a strike, I want to go there knowing that there's an objective to this. I'm not just going there standing in the sun or the rain for years or hours or however many weeks with a poster, not knowing what the person is actually doing at the front. So if you say to me, all 100,000 of us are going to be marching down to the union buildings, I need to know, okay, we're marching down to the union buildings in solidarity because this document is going to be signed, or these proposals are about to be put on the table with these stakeholders. And then from there on, I'm going to need you at the next protest to make sure that something actionable. So for me, it doesn't make sense, because the person was questioning as in, where I would say we can put up black squares, we can put up hashtags, but it's not really going to make a difference if there isn't a follow through action after that. And for them, the example they gave me were, right now, if I want to change some, I don't know, a law about something, let's say, that affects black people, I need to find out what it takes to change that law, so that if maybe I need 50 signatures on change.org, okay, I've got those 50 signatures, what is the next step? Okay, I take it to the parliamentarian. Maybe in the first sitting, they might not table it because it didn't have enough public support. Then I have to go back, and now we have to gather more troops to say, okay, now we have 300,000 signatures, therefore it meets the minimum requirement for it compulsory by obligation it has to be tabled. Or if it's tabled, maybe it's not compulsory for all parliamentarians to be there at the meeting to even discuss it. Then you think to yourself, okay, maybe the next step is to have 1 million people. Therefore, if it's going to get tabled the second or third time, and now it has a minimum of 1 million signatures, or whatever the case may be, all parliamentarians have to be there present for this debate, and a resolution has to be reached in 6 weeks or 3 months to say, okay, now that this has been discussed, at least we know there's something happening. So basically, just this discussion was, yes, there are people that play different roles throughout this entire process, where I may not be the person that protests, but I might be there drafting the bill. So if you don't see me posting a back square or retweeting a hashtag, it doesn't mean I'm not participating. I'm going to best put my efforts where they are needed, because maybe I am at work, maybe I don't have time to get the gala protest. So, but if you say, okay, we need these people for a negotiation meeting with these senators or whatever, then that's where you say, okay, who is the best fitted person for that role? So everyone, if they play their role in the best part, it's a quick process, and all 100,000 of us standing outside Parliament or union buildings for hours with our posters and expressing our anger, and then there's no. And I think this was also a backlash that obviously Jay-Z received a couple of months back, where he was like, you know, we're tired of kneeling. What are we actually doing? Like, okay, Colin Kaepernick has been kneeling for a year. He lost his money. He walked away. But now, what is the next step? Like, what are we actually doing with the NFL? And obviously, he got a lot of backlash, because for him, because a lot of people are like, you're just trying to, cut a deal with NFL, or you're just trying to buy a team, or you're just trying to profit off of it. For him, it was like, I mean, if it takes me owning a team to even be in that conversation, to sit at the table and say fuck you to all these other white owners of all these football teams, then I'm going to need you guys to help me to get there. But if no one is doing it, and we're all just kneeling for 3 years, 4 years, how long are we going to keep kneeling?
And very true, because he was kneeling for a long time. Now is it like, oh, let's all kneel, like, now let's all
and the guy is literally a true hero. Like, for me, if you're willing to sacrifice your bag to stand up for something, like, damn.
Even with Joe Biden right now.
I just wanted to add on what you were saying, Lintle, in that I actually came to the realization at some point that everything about the world and like activism and stuff is literally like, one of those machine things that we've seen when we were kids, where like every single like part, or like some people, like, in as much as it may feel like a black square, there's nothing. Like yesterday, I saw this post about Nathaniel.
Yes.
Yes.
An essay, and in my head, so I was about to repost it, and in my head, I'm like, okay, but like, what difference am I actually making at the end? But then, like, there is every single part of it actually makes a difference. Because so I studied advertising, and in this case, I guess for me, it's the power of brand awareness. And the more I know that, like, my audience is going to reach, for example, I took it from just an example, T, whose audience reaches the peeps in Lesotho and the peeps in Oklahoma. Now I'm taking it and I'm reaching the people in Florida, the two worst places in the US. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's brand awareness is so important. Like, awareness, knowing what's going on, knowledge is literally power. So even if maybe my black square on Instagram isn't making a difference, but like a Dintle somewhere is now standing in line to, you know, it's like a mechanism, it's like a machine.
Yes.
And every single piece is important. So for me, I'm just saying this because yesterday I was questioning this whole thing of like, and I continuously question it because social media is a wild place.
Yeah.
It's a shit show. And so it's always like, I always question, okay, if I post this, is it really making a difference? But like, like you continue to do it, you continue to realize that like, it's all a mechanism. And no matter how small the motherfucking needles and the screws and the whatnot, they are literally all an important piece to the overall picture. You know what I mean? And like, at the end of the day, from the knowledge that I've gained on social media, the main thing that I gained was that when it's the thing that I posted the other day about disrupting the white man's pocket. The power is there. That's where policy changes. Because, I mean, people are trying to be, that's always been the goal from the get-go, from colonization and what is the core, why is all of this shit happening? People are trying to live comfortably. People are trying to live a good life. You know what I mean? And you need power for that. But now power has this wild freaking array of issues that every single kind of race is getting affected. And so at the end of the day, even your little post on Instagram is important because it is all about awareness, knowing that, you know, it even just, I'm sorry to divert a little bit, but it even goes back to rape culture. I think for us women and females, a lot of us didn't know that we were raped, for example. Okay, I'm not
or
saying
being
that
violated.
Or being violated, exactly. Or being, we didn't know that we were violated, for example. Like, and you only learn that because you learned it from somebody else. You knew something made you uncomfortable,
but you didn't know.
Now realizing that, oh shit, this is all of us. We are all here. We should never in life feel uncomfortable. We're here to actually be happy at the end of the day. This is love and happiness. That's all that's supposed to be here. But there's now all these other dynamics and weird things. And the more we speak about something that happened to me when I was a kid, and it was super trivial, but even to this day, I'm like, trauma. There's a little bit of trauma. You know what I mean? When we share those types of things, then we get to teach, I guess, our kids eventually, and like peeps to follow, so that we're not uncomfortable in this world where we are supposed to be happy.
That is so true. And I agree with everything that you guys are saying, from the whole Jay-Z thing to Gen Z being so powerful, and what Tebello just said now. And I feel like one of the most important things to acknowledge for us and for the next generation is that we are in a better standing as opposed to, say, our parents. We are in a situation where we are literally in the rooms. People only listen to you when you're in the room with them. Your white manager will only listen when Tebello's like, okay, you know what, dude, this and this is wrong. He's going to listen to Tebello rather than watching the news and listening to Mamang from some other location complaining about 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to be comfortable in the power that we have and be like, okay, you know what, I'm already in the room, and the only way we can make change is from inside the room. Because, and this is something that I've said like to my siblings, that, you know what, it's really good that there's like all these rallies and all these protests and everything, but the sad thing is that at some point the people in the room, they grow numb to it, because now it's just noise. They're like, no, once again, Black Lives Matter, this and this matters, you know. So we need to understand that, you know what, because a lot of the people that are like our age mates, we grew up in very similar surroundings or whatever, they will listen to you. When you rock up and you're like, yo, homie, I'm not happy with 1, 2, 3, 4. Your friends should be listening to you, unless if ba lawyer, but they should. But like, chances are they're gonna listen to you. If I am Jay-Z and I'm a billionaire, I'm gonna walk into NFL and be like, yo, I don't think this is right, blah blah blah. They're going to listen to you because they respect you. The reason why you're in the room, they respect you, they somewhat know you, and they want to listen to you. So it's also, as tiring as it is to be educating, because it's tiring. I don't want to wake up, maybe I have like a whole lecture. I'm like, okay, today I'm going to teach my colleagues, okay, it's wrong to do 1, 2, 3, 4, you know?
It's tiring.
Yeah.
It's tiring.
But it's also important. It's also important in the same breath to acknowledge, you know what, I'm privileged enough to be in this position that these people will listen to me, you know, listen to whatever I have to say. They're going to listen and be like, oh, okay, maybe we need to rethink, you know, everything and try to be better humans. If not for my friend, then, you know, because I mean, it's those little things that will actually start to change the world. We don't have to have, you know, a huge meeting with like the whole country shut down.
Going back to what Tebello said earlier, is that just to sum it up, we really have to look at where the money that moves around the world is going. It's so easy for us to sit here and say, I'm going to buy, I don't know, say a Louis Vuitton bag. What if you found out that 100,000 that you spend on the Louis Vuitton bag, Louis Vuitton is funding, I don't know, like the racist organization that you're trying to bring down. Like, you don't realize that you are literally building the system that is continuously oppressing you. Like, if you do not move that money there, like, why aren't you supporting a Tebello? Is it Magugu? Or
Magugu.
Supporting a Richard Nisi? Why aren't you supporting a Talfa? You think to yourself, all of these, you don't know where the money is going. It's so easy for you to say, oh, I'm gonna drop racks on freaking Gucci. I'm gonna drop racks on Goya. I'm gonna drop racks. Where is that money?
Black face.
Yeah. That who owns those organizations? White people. Like, it's so. And I think to myself, if anyone is funding our entire oppression, it's us. Because we are probably the people that are just pumping billions into those organizations, thinking I'm gonna stunt on the gram, or I'm going to be the Joneses next year or whatever. And you think to yourself, like, where's that money going? Like, where is that money going? Right now, if you find out that LVMH is a supporter of the freaking Republican Party, or if you find out that it's funding freaking wars in Yemen, it's gonna be, are you gonna say, yeah, let me go to the Gucci store and buy a new bag?
Definitely.
Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
Guys, it's like knowledge.
It's so warped because we don't think beyond ourselves. It's only until an issue affects us on a direct and personal level do we think, shit, like where does this organization get so much money? Even things like in South Africa before, who the fuck is funding that organization? Like, where does it get so much money and resources to wield so much economic power to be in conversations? Like, where is that money coming from? You know, so we really have to just take a step back and think to ourselves, what are my actions doing, or how am I contributing to this? Because I can't out there be saying BLM, Gucci bag, Gucci is why I'm here.
I think just to link it back to literally the first conversation we had, I think these are the types of things that we should be learning in life orientation.
Yes.
We should be learning. I didn't do life orientation, but from the group of what I got is this is where we should be learning. Okay, support local. Do you know what I mean? Like, shit. Okay, so I'm always gonna take it back to advertising because that's where my brain is. But there's been a move in communication strategies towards shared value. And shared value, just to give like a brief, I don't want to give it too academic, but it's basically the idea of a business where I'm benefiting, but so are you. And it could, economically, it's socially or whatever. Obviously in a very authentic way where it's like systematic, where this is it. We are both benefiting, and we're both going to benefit for the rest of our lives. So it's that, I think, life orientation. That's what that kind of, that's, if we just teach kids from a very young age that, okay, if you're going to start a business, maybe support your fellow local whoever's who are getting their supply from, and not your big conglomerates. Let's move away, if we're talking skincare, let's move away from Procter & Gamble and your L'Oreals and whatever. And let's just start supporting, like, our more
Small.
Local stuff. Yeah.
Say though that I think there's definitely a movement happening right now of supporting Black, and I love to freaking see it. All the YouTubers that I keep watching, like, I've seen the switch in their products move from all them white companies, all them white products, to more Black, more, friendly, eco-friendly, all of that kind of stuff. And it's really great to see. And I think that's like hitting them where it hurts, and which is different.
You have to realize that you can't fucking be the 1% of the fucking world for the rest of your life.
Forever.
Yes.
It does not make sense.
It's not here for you. What I do not.
Like, now there's some to come to Black influencers and ask them to work, and the Black influencers are like, I've been here the whole time, but now all of a sudden you need me to come and talk.
For face value.
Yeah.
Because the value of the Black dollar now. So
Exactly.
you need our money now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now you want to be an ally when all along you were busy looking at freaking, I don't know, Jordan over there, not Intel.
Like I said earlier, like that thing of where you're just playing, like, for example, this is just a very small, when I was working at Adidas and I would receive creative for the homepage, I would always go out of my way to pick the Black models. Like, always, I would literally go out of my way to pick them because, I mean, first of all, freaking Adidas, majority of your money is coming from the Black folks. And okay, now that's a whole other thing, but it's just little things. You yourself, as long as you are just plugging in your local fellows, doing this just on your own scale, I think that's the one thing we can really rely on right now because,
And just to wrap it up, what lessons do you guys think you would teach your children one day? And I mean, looking at how colorful our lives are, they're probably not going to have the same struggles. They're not going to go through the same shit as us. I mean, we are already global citizens, so they're probably going to live in a different world with different, predisposed, whatever. But what's the one thing that you feel like, in as much as they will not go through the exact same thing as me, but if they have this principle, it could help in some way? Is there anything that you're like, what? This is one lesson that I'm like, what? This is golden. My babies have to know this.
I had a huge hour-long discussion with the person I'm currently seeing right now, who happens to be white. And long story short, it was the debate between homeschooling and traditional school. And it wasn't a matter of, because I mean, for me, I've gone through traditional school my whole life. So for me, it's like, the system is the system, and it's what I know, and therefore it makes sense. Like, why would you want to, I don't know, teach your kid and rob them of the experience of making friends, of being bullied, of, engaging in sports, or just all the things that you go or struggle through life as a child that, build you up, aside from the education part of it. And they said, basically, if someone is, say, a mathematician, or they have an inclination towards the art or towards writing, why are you going to put them through maths and science and geography. And my argument was obviously like, you have to learn the traditional or like the basic stuff. You have to know what 1 + 1 is, or you have to know basic accounting, basic English, basic geography, basic world history. And their problem was the system, or public schools in general, are curated by the government. So the government is only going to tell you what they want you to know. Whereas now, if you as a parent have to take additional extra 6 hours correcting everything that the school taught them, all the white history that was just, a whitewash of what true historical events were, then you might as well homeschool them, or rather put them in, let's say, a private school where you know that the curriculum or what they're being taught is independent from what the government has decided, which is the benefit of private schools in general, right? And so it was, I think the important thing was if need be, and you still need your kid to have that experience, put them in a homeschool or a private school, and they'll get all those social experiences of making friends, having sleepovers, getting bullied from all the clubs and societies and activities and hobbies they're involved in. So don't brush out that idea, because otherwise, if you put someone through 17 years of whitewashing and brainwashing, it's going to be very difficult for them to now get to college and then someone's like, oh, Jesus wasn't white, he was actually from the Middle East, or he was probably black or olive skinned. Because then it's going to be a shock to them, like, oh no, I've always known Jesus to be white, blue-eyed, blonde hair, or I've always known, say, Israel to be a country in the Middle East, or whatever the government has sort of charted is what they want to brainwash you with. So instead of you spending that time to do the corrective measure, start from scratch. And rather just take it upon yourself by either enrolling them in a private school or just homeschool them, and you determine the syllabus and you determine what they need to know, because at least you can control what it is that they need to be aware of.
Interesting.
For me, I would think I think the thing that the world lacks, in my opinion. So right now, I'm actually on a spiritual journey, and it's more of reading the Bible and that sort of thing. And what I'm learning is love and sympathy. If you sympathize with someone, it's so easy to literally solve all of the world's problems, because then obviously you come together and you but also I also come from a background where I need love and sympathy on logic, but I also need that sort of, I don't even want to call it mathematical background, but
make it make sense.
Right?
Make the data. The insights. Okay, what's the data saying? I think just systematically, just the idea of, I'm sorry to do this, brand equity. Brand
Go
equity.
off.
But we can do this. We can do this with everything else. That's the thing. Whenever present for me, the Bible is the most successful, if we're now speaking from the data and advertising, the thing is the most influential. I was going to say, and equity, for example, is the idea that the best of a company, not based on its actual products and services, but based on the feeling. So if we can measure things like feelings and things like that, surely we can start concentrating on empathy and love, because in this day and age, numbers and data are what matter. So I think it's bringing, and I guess in terms of advertising, it's happening, because brand equity also means, what's the purpose of your brand? What's your social drive? So I think slowly it's happening, where love and sympathy are just things that are happening. But because money is so important in this world, we need to be able to equate the idea of love and and sympathy and the idea of money and survival and and I think in a sense the idea, now that I think about it, is money is survival in this day and age. Like if you think of anthropology and things like that, like the equivalent of T being able to run away from a jam
with money.
What? Yeah. Today's equivalent of it is money. I can get money to buy me security. I can get it to buy me food. Literally every single thing. So we're all about numbers and we're all about money. But we also need to be about love and sympathy, and to now have to tie in all of those things into one thing. So I guess kind of what was the question? So what would I teach my children?
Yeah.
I guess I would teach them spirituality, kindness, and love. That's the thing for me.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with what you guys are both saying. And I think for me, the thing would be, like Lintle, you're saying how, your child gets exposed to so many things in school. But now the world that we are living in, and more so going forward, they are exposed. It's no longer just what you're exposed to in school that, gets filtered through the cracks and seeps into your psyche. It's things you see everywhere. Your phone, in the street, influences are just so much more, are just so pronounced in the world that we're living in now. And I think that if I am feeling like the influences around me are affecting me, I can only imagine that by the time my child comes into the world, what they will be going through. So I think I would really try and make sure that they understand that someone else will always have a definition of who you are, how you should behave, very sure of yourself, because the influences will always come in, and sometimes, and a lot of the times, they're negative. And if you know who you are, what you believe in, what you stand for, and it doesn't necessarily have to be what I believe. I think I'm going to try as best I can to give my child the freedom.
For me, I agree with everything. I agree with everything that you guys have said. I love what Lintle said about being progressive and, adapting to the times, and that just because you went through traditional learning programs, it doesn't mean that you have to enforce the same thing with our children. I love what Tebello was saying about, being in tune with your spirituality and just accepting that, everything just starts from love. If I can just love this person, then I will love them beyond what they look like or beyond what they eat, their culture, all of that. And I also like what T was saying about the influences. We need to also be aware and acknowledge that, we live in a world where it's like a glass house. You're constantly seeing all these people out there and how so-and-so is living their life. And I mean, honestly, you will want to, I wish I had a nice car, but now it's how you digest all of that, all of those things that you're seeing. That's what matters most. So to conclude, for me, one thing that I teach my children is something that I have been, I don't want to say going through, but it's something that has constantly been popping up in my mind. And it's the reminder that I am first black and I'm first a woman. And I'm first human and I'm black and I'm a woman. So before I go and nitpick at someone's experience and be like, how mutio mara, if this and this happened to you, where were you? I need to first remember that I'm human. And if something unfortunate happened to someone, it could very well happen to me, So it's just basically just bringing it back to the source of, we should see each other as humans. We should treat each other as humans. And if there's that love, I mean, there's very little things that we can mess up. Thank you so much, ladies, for being part of this conversation. And hey, man, go. Otherwise, I wish you guys well. It's been real. Bye. And that's it. After subscribing to this podcast, Please remember to like, comment, and share this episode. Remember, life is all about learning, unlearning, and relearning. Peace and light, beloved.
It's all about the journey. It's all about the journey, baby. Ain't nothing changed but the weather.